No, give me that. You have the little one.
They say that the tools make the man. Well, at least people trying to sell people tools say that, but sometimes it's actually true. Superpowers are all fine and well, but at times, it takes some good engineering or the right materials to make a weapon that can overcome even the most intense superpowers. It can make all the difference in the world. So let's take a look at some of the game-changing weapons in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It'd be understandable that Thor would think he's nothing without his legendary hammer Mjolnir. When he takes matters into his own brash hands and restarts a centuries-old war with the Frost Giants, his father Odin grounds him in Midgard and not only takes his hammer away, but places an enchantment on it that prevents anyone who's unworthy of it from picking it up. That's quite the security lock. Odin wasn't done yet though. He also tied the power of Thor with all of the thunder and lightning to the hammer as well, so without it, Thor was just a tall jack dude, which still wasn't too shabby. After Thor's sister came home to start breaking things, her first order of business was to break Mjolnir. Fortunately, Thor realized he wasn't god of hammers, and that he still has power without it. That doesn't mean that Thor didn't need the hammer's approval. After losing his dad, his homeland, and half the universe, Thor had some god-level doubt about his worthiness, but he has a heart-to-heart with his mom and finds out that he's still worthy and is able to bring his hammer to the final showdown. Not that Thor didn't have a few options available to him by the time he brought a Mjolnir from the past into the present. After Thanos showed up stone collecting at the fleeing Asgardian ship, Thor knew he needed a special kind of weapon, a Thanos killing weapon. To do that, he had to go to Nidavellir, but unfortunately, Thanos had already been there to craft his own destructive fashion accessory. With a little help from his friends, he was able to get the weapon made, complete with a custom wooden handle. Stormbreaker was the complete package. Not only did it have the crowd-clearing properties of Mjolnir, but it also could open the Bifrost, allowing Thor to make a spectacular entrance during the Battle of Wakanda. It's so powerful that it was able to cut through a blast from a completed Infinity Gauntlet and land deep in Thanos' chest when the best of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange could manage was a drop of blood. Unfortunately, it could only go where it's aimed, and Thor did not aim for the head, at least not the first time. While Odin's enchantment on Mjolnir is pretty specific about who can wield it and what it bestows, it's pretty open-ended after that. It's not just when Thor is worthy he can lift it. When anyone is worthy, they can use it and have the powers of Thor. It's a pretty sweet deal if you're worthy. The first glimpse we got of Mjolnir's equal opportunity worthiness test was when the second android Tony and Bruce made came to life. The team was understandably skeptical, seeing as they were still fighting off the first android they created. But when Vision was able to hand Thor the judgy hammer, the team felt that they just might have someone worthy on their team. There was someone else on the Avengers who also screamed worthiness, even if he didn't pick it up in Avengers Age of Ultron. The Russos say that he was too polite to pick it up. Fans have theorized that hiding the secret about who killed Tony's parents made him unworthy at the time. Whatever the reason, when it mattered, the hammer found itself in Captain America's hands and helped turn the tide against Thanos until the cavalry could arrive. Like Thor, we knew it. Guardians, it's not just Asgardians that have sweet signature weapons with special properties, and these weapons are far less discerning about who gets to use them. Controlled mentally through a cyber implant and some creative whistling, Yondu maintains order with the help of a particularly useful arrow. While Hawkeye might have to fire several special arrows, Yondu's single Yaka Arrow can do the job of a whole quiver. All he has to do is put his lips together and whistle. Generally speaking, Yondu is able to use the arrow to intimidate people and keep them in line. When that doesn't work, however, and those people rebel and put him in his own brig, well, then the gloves come off. After sending Baby Groot on a disturbing treasure hunt, Yondu is able to get a backup interface for his Yaka Arrow and send it on a whistle-stop tour of the mutinying Ravagers, making the bodies rain down. Sure, Rocket might have got some good shots in, but the arrow did most of the heavy lifting. As the song goes, when Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who chose to oppose his shield must yield. Unfortunately for Cap, not everyone he throws that shield at got that message. But it's alright because if he's lead to a fight or a duel is due, then the red, white, and blue will come through. And Cap can do this all day. So what happens when Marvel's unstoppable force meets its immovable object? Moviegoers got the answer to that question when Thor came to Earth looking for his renegade and apparently not dead brother Loki. First though, he had to go through Cap and Iron Man. Iron Man was first up against the God of Thunder and was only able to manage a stalemate that was broken when Thor tried to bring the hammer down on Cap's mighty shield. The energy dispersed from the shield's vibranium construct knocked the future teammates down and allowed a moment for cooler heads to prevail and realize the true enemy was waiting patiently for them to wrap things up. Some heroes' costumes are iconic in their look, known to comic book fans and non-fans alike. That doesn't mean that they don't get an update every now and then. As iconic as the traditional Spider-Man costume is, Peter Parker hasn't been above branching out and trying something new every now and then. Like most things Peter does, however, it's had some mixed results. His run with a black tie that seemed to respond to his very thoughts turned out to be doing just that, because it was a symbiote from a race of symbiotes that live off of the adrenaline of their hosts. When Peter rejected that symbiote, it found someone else to bond with and joined the Spider-Man Haters Club. While that hasn't happened in the MCU yet, Peter has gotten a number of upgrades from Tony Stark. His first suit helped in the epic airport battle and the fight against Vulture, but when Thanos came to town, Peter got an even sweeter upgrade in the Iron Spider suit from the comic book Civil War storyline. This armored suit not only let him breathe when he hitches a ride on the Maz Q ship, it's also intuitive enough to let Peter join the fight with Thanos on Titan. The explanation of magic in the Marvel Cinematic Universe manages to be both simple and complex at the same time. The way it's explained is that there are energies and stuff that can be tapped from other dimensions that can affect things in our dimension, as long as you know how to tap into them and then manipulate them with spells. Some power is just too much to channel through someone casting a spell, however, so an item is used to help channel those energies, and that's the totally simple and kind of complicated way we get magical items. Doctor Strange is a master of the mystical arts and the best of the sorcerers, at least according to a shocked Ancient One when she finds out that Strange gave away his sharpest tool, the Eye of Agamotto, containing the Time Stone. The Time Stone played a pivotal role in Infinity War when Strange gave it up for that 1 in 14 million chance. It may not seem like it, but Thanos is a thoughtful cat when it comes to accessories. The more stones he collects, the more powerful he becomes, and the less armor he starts to wear. When he has no stones, however, like back in 2014, he goes all in on a suit of armor and comes equipped with an equally bonkers weapon. The double-bladed sword was a force to be reckoned with no matter how awkward it looked to use. He can throw it and have it come back. It can deflect blows from both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. And with enough hefty swings, it was able to break Captain America's unbreakable shield. Only Scarlet Witch was able to damage it before Thanos rained fire to keep the heartbroken Avenger from crushing him for what he did to the robot she loved. While fans had an inclination that the secret to stopping Thanos might lie with Scott Lang and the Quantum Realm, no one in the MCU probably saw that coming. Certainly his former airport opponent, Tony Stark, was reluctant to hear Scott out on his time heist plan to get the stones from the past and bring back everyone that was lost. But then Tony got a picture of Peter Parker wet and went and did some deep thinking on how to make a quantum GPS device to help guide the Avengers through time. Thanks to Hank Pym, Scott Lang was able to provide the Pym particles and quantum tunnel to allow the heroes to reach the quantum realm, and then Tony's high-tech know-how turned a trip through the quantum realm into a trip through time. This meeting of great minds is the one thing that allows the Avengers to undo the snap and bring everyone back, making the quantum suits one of the biggest game changers in the MCU. When it comes down to it, most of the superpowers that superheroes have are generally on the offensive side of things. Stuff like forehead laser beams and super strength really lend themselves to doing some damage. But some people's powers are so over-the-top powerful that they themselves become considered weapons all on their own. When the Kree came to Earth to stop the renegade Mar-Vell from giving their enemy the Skrulls a ship capable of light speed without space portals, they sort of oopsied the whole process and had the Tesseract infuse some of its special energy into a test pilot bystander. how powerful is the Tesseract? Captain Marvel was the third time that the Space Stone was at the center of a massive power struggle in a Marvel movie. Everyone's got a plan for the Space Stone. The Kree went straight to brainwashing Danvers into thinking that she was on the side of the Kree, and just in case she figured things out, they put an inhibitor in her. Without it, she becomes a space-hopping, spaceship-smashing guided missile that ended Thanos' air superiority in short order. Gathering the Infinity Stones in one place is only half of the journey, but it's the tough half. It took Thanos 20 movies to get that far, and the Avengers had to bend the laws of space and time to replicate the feat. Once you have those stones, you have to put them together so that the wearer can use them. Apparently there's no owner's manual needed. The stones have an easy interface. Think really hard about what you want, then snap or close your fist or something, whatever it is. Whoever has the stones is able to do it if they have the right gear. For Thanos, that came in the form of a special golden glove. Once that gauntlet was loaded up, it snagged up the biggest game changer the MCU has ever seen, the Decimation. No matter how super your powers are, you're gonna need a techie. Unless you're Tony Stark and can be your own techie. For everyone else, those wonderful toys have to come from somewhere. Batman has Lucius Fox, Punisher has Microchip, and the Black Panther has his wisecracking, sandal-hating sister Shuri. If genius plus resources equals super genius in Tony Stark, genius plus the resources of Wakanda equals super duper genius for Shuri. For the Black Panther, Shuri gives the Q-style update on her brother's gear, showing him the version that can be contained in a necklace, and a new special feature. Now, not only will the suit be able to absorb the kinetic energy that it's hit with, it can also store that energy and release it around him. How useful can that be? Well, with Avengers movies ending with large hordes of creatures or robots fighting the team, it comes in pretty handy, especially when the Black Panther takes his turn in the Great Gauntlet Relay Race. It's not just the Space Stone inside the Tesseract that's gotten around in the Infinity Saga. When S.H.I.E.L.D. turns out to be infiltrated by Hydra, the Mind Stone slips into Hydra's hands, where Baron Strucker starts experimenting on some Sokovian twins. Then the stone finds its way into the forehead of a super robot, and then the super robot ends up last on Thanos' Infinity Stone shopping list. The Mind Stone gets around, and it all started with one god of mischief who decided that he was going to ruin his big bro's favorite vacation spot by invading it. He uses the Mind Stone to control both Hawkeye and Dr. Selvig to get the Space Stone to open a portal for the Chitauri, with the scepter playing a key role in not only Loki's plans for Earth, but also in the power plays that happened in the wake of the Chitauri invasion. It's one of the biggest game changers, setting in motion more than one of the big stories of the Infinity Saga. Of course, when the Avengers finally went through the quantum realm on their time heist to get the stones from the past to save the future, there was one problem. They didn't have an Infinity Gauntlet. Even if they could convince someone to clean Thanos' hand out of the first one, it had been fried in Thanos' big snaps to wipe out half of everything, and then destroy the stones themselves. Plus, you'd need a Savage Hulk-sized Hulk to fit in the glove, and who knows what Savage Hulk would snap into existence. So the Avengers needed their own gauntlet to channel the powers of the stones. While Thanos might be old school in his choice of accessories, Tony is all about the latest thing, usually because he's the one inventing all the latest things. Tony had a few advantages. First, it was one size fits all, which is handy since they hadn't worked out who was going to use it ahead of time. The second is, it's the same tech Tony uses on his suit, which allowed for some handy sleight of hand that robbed Thanos of his second snap and instead dusted the Mad Titan and his army. Time was, detectives took the name of their weapon as their moniker. Beretta used a Beretta. Magnum used a Magnum. Cannon used, well, he used a tiny gun. I assume Bosch just wings spark plugs at bad guys. It's not only TV cops that get in on the naming themselves after their weapon game. A member of the Black Order, Thanos' adopted children, got in the name game in the form of Corvus Glaive. Glaive, that weird-looking polearm that Corvus uses. However, this is no ordinary glaive. It's not only able to penetrate Vision's body that's made out of vibranium, but it's also able to prevent Vision from phasing and deflect the beam that the Mind Stone shoots out. With Thanos out to collect that Mind Stone, it put Vision in a compromised position. What goes around comes around though, and Corvus was stabbed with his own glaive in Wakanda. Corvus is a genus of birds that includes crows. That probably just sounded cool, but now you know, and knowing stuff is fun. Those are some of the game-changing weapons in the MCU. What are your favorites? What would you have put on the list? Let us know in the comments, and hey, while you're there, why not subscribe to CBR? It's not a weapon, but it's a tool that'll update your inbox with all of our latest videos. Thanks for watching.